Remember the Golf Plus? Well, this is its replacement, the Golf SV, which is short for sports van, and this is the third Golf in the lineup after the hatch and the estate. So how does it differentiate itself from those two? Well, as you can probably see, it's taller, much taller, so that means it's got a lot of interior space. You sit up higher and there's more space in the front and rear. So if that appeals to you, this is the closest you can get to buying an MPV without actually buying an MPV. The SV is built on Volkswagen's super adaptable MQB platform, which essentially allows its engineers and designers to stretch the car in their computers and drag and drop interchangeable parts. So this car's 83mm longer than a Golf, 81mm wider and 126mm taller. And up front that means you sit higher up and you've got an incredible amount of headroom. The car's extra width and the fact that it has an electric handbrake also means there's a lot more space between the front seats. So there's this really large storage compartment with two big cup holders. And I really like this elasticated band, which is absolutely perfect for putting your phone in to stop it slipping around. You also get really big door bins and there's even a cubby on top of the dashboard. Interior quality is really good, and that's probably this car's biggest advantage over the Ford C-Max, which does feel a little bit more dated and plasticky inside. Essentially everything from the gauges to the infotainment system are all lifted straight from the Golf, but that's no bad thing because it has one of the best hatchback interiors on sale. I like this swathe of brushed aluminium, and while this beige interior might not be the most practical choice for families, with these huge windows it does make the interior very light and airy. With 48mm more space between the front and the rear wheels, there's noticeably more legroom than you get in a Golf. In fact, it's actually really impressive back here. There's loads of space. You also get things like this picnic table, a 12-volt charger and a little cubby. So this would be perfect for putting your food on, or more likely an iPad. However, this is strictly a 5-seater, so if you needed something with 7, then you'd be more into Volkswagen Touran or Ford Grand C-Max territory. Open the boot and there's really good access thanks to this huge hatchback and a low loading lip, and you get 500 litres of space, which is 76 more than the old Golf Plus and more importantly 68 more than the Ford C-Max. But it is important to note that to get access to all that space you need to drop down the 2-stage boot floor, and that does mean that you no longer have a flat boot all the way to the back of the rear seats. So can it live up to its sports van name? Well, not exactly, but we are driving the Blue Motion model, which is tuned more for economy more than anything else. And we're sure if we were driving the 2-litre diesel GT version with larger alloy wheels, then it would feel a bit more athletic. And that's partly because this being the Blue Motion version is fitted with 16-inch wheels and low rolling resistance tyres, although it does have 15mm lower suspension than standard car to aid aerodynamics. It certainly feels happier pottering around town than something like the Ford C-Max, which is a better steer out on country lanes. But this being a quasi-MPV hatchback, what do you actually want from it? Well, if it's comfort, then this car actually excels, because it just sort of wafts along, and even if you do see a bump up ahead, by the time you get to it, well, you hardly really feel anything in the cabin or through the steering. But that's not the best thing about this car. No, the best thing is the 1-litre engine. And yes, I know Ford has had a 1-litre EcoBoost in the C-Max for quite a while, but it still absolutely amazes me that the engine up front pulling us along with up to 5 passengers and all your luggage has the swept capacity of a bottle of water. And yes, in some situations, say up a hill for example, you do have to work the engine fairly hard, but actually with 113 bhp and getting this car from 0 to 62 in 10.4 seconds, performance really isn't that bad. And economy? Well, on my 50-mile commute, which does consist mainly of motorway, I've seen it as high as 64 mpg on the trip computer, while the average claimed by Volkswagen is 62.8. And the worst I've seen, well, on one B road blast, I did manage to get it as low as 42. The SV starts from just over 19 grand, which is a few £100 more than the Ford C-Max, so they're quite closely matched on price. This 1 litre Blue Motion is 21,000, while this actual test car is 24,000 thanks to some extras including front and rear parking sensors, sat-nav, smartphone connectivity and a winter pack with heated seats. Driving around in the SV, it almost feels like the forgotten member of the Golf family, so you just don't see that many on the road in Britain. And that's a bit odd really, because it shares so many of the Golf's great talents, but with the extra ride height and space that people are flocking to in crossovers. And maybe that's the SV's Achilles heel, because while it's a very practical car, a lot of people are wooed by the extra style and kudos of owning a small SUV. But could you see your family in a Golf SV? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. To inquire about this car, click on the button, and to watch more reviews like this one, click on the links on screen now.